When there's no one watching, how are you talking to yourself? How are you treating yourself? And are you committed to self-mastery, to walking the path of light? Because if you are, if you've had enough of this illusion, this world, these limitations of the ego, and if you've been seeking a path of truth, of freedom, of personal power, this is for you. What is beyond thought? What exists beyond that? I remember when I was 22, I had so much anxiety and stress that I couldn't understand how human beings could live that way. I had normalized it again and again and again, and I thought, this is how everybody lives. When I was going to sleep, my monkey mind would come up with 20 open conversations in my head at the same time, and then I would have insomnia. I couldn't go to sleep. I would wake up really tired. I was being totally controlled by my mind, and I didn't know who I was beyond thoughts, beyond thinking. I was so afraid of finding out that answer that I was addicted to negative thinking. That is the number one addiction in the world right now, because we believe that when we think we exist, but in reality, we can live a life of true permanent peace of mind. And that's the journey that I've embarked on the last 7 years. And I've tried all of the modalities out there in the world. I've created my own modalities in energy medicine, with mindfulness meditation, with yoga, inner child healing. And the truth that I keep coming back to is, what is our true self? The true self is hiding beyond that negative thinking. And you need to understand this on a really deep level so that you can shatter the illusion and take back the power for the rest of your life. So coming back to my story, one day I started to read different books. I wanted to seek an explanation of this monkey mind, and if there was actually a solution, a way that I could stop thinking, or that I could just live in peace in my heart. And I found this amazing book called The Power of Now by Edgar Tolle. And I read it the first time, and my mind was so skeptic that I didn't pay any attention to it. So I read it, so I put the book down, and then I think a few weeks later, I had another wake-up call, and I kind of relapsed into this state of profound negative thinking and anxiety. And I reached this point where I couldn't really feel my surroundings, like I couldn't feel you, or I couldn't enjoy the present moment because I was completely in my head. And something inside me was like, read the book again, or like try another chapter, just see what happens. And so I go and I'm reading it in my house. I was in the hotel, the book arrives, and I'm reading it again. And then there was this transmission, or this revelation or breakthrough of truth. And I got taken into this image or this video where I was sitting in a cinema room, and my mind or my ego was kind of the movie. And the movie was just the usual habitual, repetitive, negative thinking patterns that I got used to for more than 20 years. Before I had that experience, I didn't know what was beyond thoughts. But when I had that, when I saw my thoughts of telling myself, JP, why are you so insecure? Why are you so negative? Like, why are you so angry? Like, shame on you. I was like, holy moly. I cannot believe that I'm seeing this from a separate perspective. Like, there's space between this insanity of negative thinking in my mind. And I experienced being the observer of my thoughts. That was the first experience that untangled me from the crazy monkey mind, which later on I realized that had nothing to do with the true source of my being. And that revelation just felt like a deep sigh and a deep feeling of presence and release, because I had carried so much shame and guilt in my shoulders, so much responsibility, thinking that I was all of these fears, and how in the world could I accept that as part of my being? I was getting into inner child healing and shadow work and spirituality, but I kept hearing that I needed to accept all of these shadows, all of these patterns, all of these thoughts, and that I just needed to be open to love them and to accept them and to notice them. Even though that had some relative truth in it, on a deeper level, I was like, there's gotta be something else here, because it doesn't make sense that I accept my ego as my true self. And I started seeking, I started reading books, I started meditating and tapping into my own wisdom. And then I finally understood that when we refer to unconditional self-love and self-acceptance, It isn't unconditional love and acceptance towards the ego and our true self, because there is only one power in the universe. What is beyond thought? Our true self, which is in oneness with the divinity, with the presence of God. And now it makes sense, right? In the Bible, even Jesus said, ye cannot serve two masters. First, because there aren't two masters. There's only one power, one intelligence, and one love in the universe. And second, because the second master is an imposter, is literally the imposter syndrome. If we really think about that connotation of words, and this just came to me, when we are caught up in this imposter syndrome, which is millions of people, myself included, for a long time, finally broke free from it permanently. It's been the greatest gift that I received in my life. That's why I'm so excited and happy to share this with you. So true self-acceptance, acceptance of self, is not to accept your negative thoughts and feelings as your own, but our every step of the way, we should just put our focus again back to our true self. Because when we worry and when we judge ourselves that we're thinking negatively, we are just putting more of our attention in that pattern. And guess what happens? Where we place our attention, we accept, we energize, we give life to whatever we're placing our attention on. So when you place unconsciously, when your attention is hijacked by the ego and you're just thinking in that moment in your house, how could you do this? Like, how could you do this or that? When you're criticizing yourself, you're not really criticizing yourself. The ego is criticizing you, and you believe yourself to be that imposter. And so you unconsciously give it power and power because you haven't remembered, you're forgotten that your true self is over here. It's this shining radiance and light that's just been waiting for you to claim it, for you to stop placing your attention on the false god and to place it back into the true source of your being, which is the sun, which is the divinity of the light within you. And slowly we can start to realize that what is beyond thought is nothing to be afraid of, because it is literally the true source of your being. And if you're afraid to find that out, let me tell you something. That is the ego playing you over and over again, because it will tell you everything. It will throw you the cards of skepticism, of doubt, of fear, of the old programming that you might have received from religion, from your parents, from society. It will throw all of its arsenal of weapons to try to keep you stuck in that prison of thoughts. So if you're dealing with any stress, with any anxiety, with any unease feelings, if you can't sit with yourself and be at peace, that means that the ego and the mind and the negative thinking is governing your life. So this is what we really need to understand in order to permanently break free from negative thinking, which you can. And the only way that you can prove this in your own life is by proving it to yourself, is by going deeper into the journey of conscious self-mastery. And there's nothing more that I'm passionate about than conscious self-mastery, that showing my mind that it can no longer govern me because I'm the master of my life. I am the one. I am. And so the mind, instead of becoming a monster that we fear, that we're addicted to this negative thinking, the message for today is go beyond that. Let's fix our attention on the one presence of the true God self in us that is connected, the presence that gives us life, the presence that allows us to think and feel is God in action in you. So I want you to heal this split, this duality, that you have to accept your ego and your negative thinking as your true self and you have to do it. No, let's rise above that. Like let's see what's the absolute truth beyond duality, beyond this polarity, this shadow and light. Because the truth is, you're not your false self, you're not your ego. So stop accepting that as your reality. You might think that the ego has power over you, but in reality, you as the observer of consciousness, you're the only one who has power over everything. And that power is not even yours because you're not your personality. Your true self is the presence of God in you. Your I am presence, this divinity, is the true source of your being. This is where your power really emanates from. Therefore, you can remove that power by removing your attention from it and go back to accept the light in you. And once we do that, everything that you need to permanently break free from negative thinking will come to you. But the only step that you really need to take right now is to stop giving the power away to your ego and to realize you do have the power, using your free will to redirect your energy, and to command silence of the outer self, because you and your only responsibility is to accept the truth of your being, the love, wisdom, and power that you are. Even kids are able to understand when a thought or a feeling is coming from their source of love, or whether that's coming from the ego and the personality. So let's go beyond this self-limited perspective of I can't do it to I can and I will. And I'm sure that if I point your attention back to a past event that you had to conquer your ego and you said enough, you decided to go through the process. Maybe you were meditating and your ego was trying to take you out of it, trying to tell you all of the things that you had to do. Maybe there was this time where you wanted to react and just let out that anger, but you controlled yourself because you do have that power. And maybe the situation needed you to quiet your mind, to be present. The situation might be you already have proof in your own life that you can silence the outer mind, that you can silence this negative thinking and be free forever from it. This is not a dream. This is the truth. And I'm here for you and with you to reveal this truth or open this door that this is a reality, that we can live heaven on earth as long as we are consciously committed to the path of self-mastery. And I just want to share a little snippet of my own testimony, because I started my conscious journey about 7 years ago as the most insecure, shy kid that I knew, second guessing himself in everything, having the deepest programming of unworthiness and being addicted to this negative thinking, to feeling inferior to other people, to fearing being rejected, like extremely people pleaser. And everywhere I go, I would dim my own light and I would kind of go like this, making sure that I wasn't rejected. So if I thought about starting a business, my mind would try to trick me into this logical story of how I could just open up an e-commerce or do a faceless channel. I'm an introvert, I shouldn't be doing that. These are the stories that kept me so limited in the own person of my mind. And that is the manifestation of believing your negative thoughts and believing that I was the false God, the imposter. And through these 7 years, I've been so blessed, and I've committed myself every single day to mastering the mind, to no longer allow the mind to govern and be at the driver's seat of all of my decisions. And I was able to go from that insecure, shy kid now in this present day, feeling like the most powerful version of myself, being able to speak to you directly with truth, with love, but direct, with power as well, without any ounce of fear of rejection, which was my biggest fear, or better said, the biggest fear of my ego. And so I've been able to fully separate from my mind, and now it's a little tiny mouse that even if the ego peeks out a little bit out of his little cave, instantly silenced, instantly mastered, because my own presence, my own light has grown tremendously, and it's all been through self-conscious action. I'm sharing with you this because no one is going to save you, even if you hire a coach, a mentor, and you try to do all of that journey. When there's no one watching, how are you talking to yourself? How are you treating yourself? And are you committed to self-mastery, to walking the path of light? Because if you are, if you've had enough of this illusion, this world, these limitations of the ego, and if you've been seeking a path of truth, of freedom, of personal power, this is for you. Commit from within your heart. Do this every single day. Go check out the other videos that I have. I've shared some amazing resources for you to start building your habits, doing your daily rising routines where you can enter a really special state of meditation really fast, and different conscious breathing practices to take away the power of your ego. Go tap into all of that amazing stuff. It's going to be linked most likely in the description. Subscribe and let's move into this journey of mastery. I'll see you on the next one. Much love.